Hello and welcome to Bijitka Pravda, the ugly truth for a new episode. Censorship. All right, the news is short. The ugly truth is banned on Instagram after 2 episodes. Yes, you heard this correctly. We got banned with no chance of appeal on Instagram. The reason? Apparently, our content doesn't adhere to Meta's and Mr. Zuckerberg's guidelines. Now, what the hell is going on? We had 2 episodes. One was What Women Want, a lovely interview with a lovely lady, Lisa. Another one was just me blabbing about Poland for 15 minutes. I rewatched every minute of those episodes to see what was wrong, and nothing extraordinarily out of the box was said because, unfortunately, I'm very familiar with self censorship, having lived in Canada for a long time. Anyways, banned. No chance of appeal. Instagram page nuked. Censorship is not just a Bijitka Pravda or, ugly truth thing. We're seeing it everywhere. It's absolutely insane. I remember when I was a kid in Iran, a totalitarian regime, censorship since I was very little and first time I accessed internet. Many of the websites were inaccessible. You would go to the website and it says, sorry, this website cannot be accessed. And there was no VPN business back then. And I'm like, I thought this is just our luck. We live in under one of the shittiest regimes in the world. And then now we're here 20 and few years later and it's everywhere. Just a couple of days ago, Brazil, a so-called democracy of 200 million people, banned the use of X, Twitter, in the country. A judge, an unelected bureaucrat judge, banned X in the country, with, of course, cooperating with the acting president, socialist president. And the penalty, if you use VPN to access X and get caught, 9,000 US dollars per day. That's enough to bankrupt the whole family. In Brazil, last week, CEO of Telegram and founder of Telegram and Contacte, Pavel Durov, one of the brightest minds of 21st century, smartest people out there probably, arrested in France, the country of, freedoms. And now he's out on bail, still cannot leave the country, $5 million of bail. But his crime, not moderating the content on his platform that are not handing the data to the authorities. They're saying that, Telegram is used for some, drug dealers are using Telegram, or child trafficking, they're using Telegram in some channels. First of all, Telegram has 1 billion users. 1 billion users. You really expect somebody to moderate private chats of 1 billion people? Like, how is it even possible? It's insane. Or it's like, 10 years ago when those really scary and just disgusting videos coming from ISIS, that they were marching through the streets in Syria and Iraq and beheading people, and they were all on Toyotas. It's like arresting the Toyota CEO that, hey, your product is used by terrorists. We got to arrest you. 20 years in jail. You should have made sure no terrorist gets to drive a Toyota. You see the logic? Absolutely makes no sense. You see the same attacks happening on X, Twitter, by the European Commission. I think they're trying to arrest Musk next. I wouldn't be surprised, really. It's everywhere. In the UK last month, you saw people going to jail for memes. Word, tweet, stupid meme. 20 something years ago, I thought, wow, if somebody like in a private chat insulted the supreme leader, it would be rounded up and executed back home. And I never imagined something, of course, not to that level yet, but similar happened rest of the world. So we're in a very dangerous times. And of course, this podcast. And my thing is that I don't think many people are very aware of what's happening. Like, you have to be active on a place like X to know exactly what's happening. Like this Brazil thing is nowhere in the news. Very little reporting at all. And my worry is that I feel a lot of people who live in the free air societies, at least for now, they think all these draconian authoritarian measures can only happen in faraway lands. Or the only way they could happen in their homeland is if they get invaded by a foreign adversary, and then foreign adversary says that, boom, the whole laws are reversed and everything changes overnight. But it doesn't work like this. It's the boiling frog theory. If they do it very fast, then you're going to have a massive revolt and rebellion. But if they slowly turn up the heat higher, 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 suffocate you kindly, by the time most people realize what's going on, it's too late. And I think we're getting close to that point, you know, because if you don't have the freedom to think and you don't have the freedom to talk, then you may as well just be a robot. And the problem is that the majority of the populace, I don't blame them because people are busy. They have to take care of their family, feed their family, put a roof over their heads, pay the bills. They don't have time and energy maybe to follow along with what is actually happening. But the censorship now is a very big danger because the moment the censorship allows, gives again monopoly of information to a group of designated media class with particular agendas, then it impacts minds because media is extremely effective. And if we don't have free speech and there's only one discourse allowed, then there is no freedom. And once there's no freedom, there is no hope. I am sure there has been a point in your life that you may have had an opinion not vicious, an opinion not aggressive, not full of anger, hate, whatever you want to call it. Just an opinion that may go a little bit against the opinions that the most popular newspapers in your city or country usually report, or most popular media channels report. And you were afraid to mention this opinion with a colleague, post it online. Afraid of what? Afraid of social repercussions of it. Losing your job, livelihood, social isolation, becoming an outcast, being labeled things that you're not, just for expressing opinion. So that's why you have some cultures, for example, like the Canadian culture, that is very non confrontational at this point. I was having a walk with my ex roommate. We used to live together in Toronto. He lives in London now. And we were having a walk here in Poland. And I was telling him, Nick, what is the one thing you don't miss about Canada? And he said, man, I've noticed something since I've been back here in Europe is that people in Canada don't are afraid to talk about difficult topics. Anything that can spiral into a cliche conversation is usually avoided or kind of sidetracked. It's just better not to go there. And it's a little bit of a programming, I think, in the head. And while the society can run like this until it goes into full crisis or anarchy, but I mean, what's the point? I hate this. How is the weather? It's the same shit. Summer, it's sunny. Winter, it's cold. Talking about the weather is nothing. I could have a podcast just talk about the weather all day. Every country in the world, let's talk about the weather. Nobody will ban it because talking about the weather is allowed. As long as, even that, I'm not too sure. So about censorship, also another problem is that many people who live in these freer countries, they always see history as something of the past. And we think that history just was happening something in the past and it will never happen now because we live in a stable times. Yeah, shit. No shit. Actually, no, we don't. And just because something hasn't happened for a while or hasn't happened to my country, it will never happen again. Well, Imagine if every single generation in the history felt and thought that way. They'd all be wrong because history keeps happening all the time. So let's say just because there has been a certain order and certain, like you had some certain freedoms or some certain accesses or some certain uh, privileges in your life up until now, it doesn't mean you will have it for the rest of your life because the world is constantly evolving both locally and internationally. And having the freedom to think and to express your thoughts out loud or in writing is the greatest freedom you could have. And once you lose it, then it's so hard to get it back. Coming sincerely from many people, not just me, who lived under authoritarian and totalitarian regimes. But the scary part is I browse online on different forums and see what people are talking about. Many people are blind to actually what's happening. They see this creeping censorship and this creeping totalitarianism in terms of having only one point of view allowed as a necessity in their eyes to save democracy. What? What? So they think we need more censorship, more arrests, more social pressure, less freedom in order to save democracy. And what is the point of democracy? Is apparently to have freedom. So in their mind, we need a lot less freedom and more censorship to save democracy. And democracy is supposed to battle censorship and be for. So nothing makes sense, but it doesn't matter. When you bring it to their head, they just cannot function this day because, they've been programmed by what they read and what they consume to the point that the brain cannot function and cannot understand that it's a massive paradox of what they say and what they actually support. The problem is they could win. And if they could win, and if they have the wave of support from only one point of view, then everything else that stands against that point of view gets absolutely crushed. Because if you have the power of the media, power of some people who are propagandized or indoctrinated or incapable of independent or critical thinking, and also power of state, this is just too strong of a wave to stand against. And it's just too risky. And I think that's why there should be more debate in public discourse, in families, in friendship groups about the issue of online censorship and the issue of penalties for thinking. If we can't think, if we can't debate like adults, if we can't talk about serious matters, not just about weather, or, oh, did you clean your house today? Then we're in big trouble. Because you can only pretend that everything is fine for some time. It's never permanent. You can pretend that it's not happening to you, but eventually it'll come to you. So defend freedom. Defend the freedom to think, to talk. Because if you don't defend it and you just passively think it's always going to be there, you're going to be terribly disappointed. That's, of course, if you care about it and if you value this. But I think if anybody who's come from places where there is no freedom or experience living under totalitarian regimes, they understand it a lot better. But I feel some of the people that have never really truly lived on those regimes, they, in a way, I feel like they crave it. It's crazy. I go to these forums and they're like, oh, we should completely ban X, Twitter. Oh, these pages should be crushed. No, no, no. Massacre. Anyways, I hope our YouTube account is not going to get banned anytime soon. We're going to see how it will go. We're going to come back next episode with a guest again. So, sorry for a bit of doom and gloom, but for now, knock on wood, we have freedom at least here on this channel. Thank you for listening, and see you soon.